Welcome to lesson 1 of module 4 of our grant writing training brought to you by Grant Database. In this module 4, we are looking at writing the grant proposal step by step. And the first lesson here is we're going to be looking at proposal anatomy and then looking at what every section should contain in your proposal that you'll be drafting. So now that you have got a great idea and a clear theory of change, it's time to put it all on paper in the right structure, with the right language, and in a way that makes funders say, yes, we want to support this. Now think of a grant proposal like building a house. Every section is a room, and when all the rooms are properly built and connected, the funder can can walk through your house and feel secure, excited, and convinced. So we're going to go through all the sections of a grant proposal and then taking them one after the other. Now, one thing I want you to know is that proposals are different from each other depending on the call for proposal. For example, there might be a call for proposal that has a document of its own. I'm going to show you this demonstration in the next lesson. But giving you the background that sometimes they have a platform that you log in, they have questions that for you to answer, and you answer those questions regarding your project. And some other time, they have a template for you that can be downloaded as a, from it can be a Microsoft Word or an Excel for your budget. So all of these two methods are in that way. So there is those two methods of submitting grant proposal. The first one is when you log into the funder's website to answer the question that are asked you regarding your project. And the second option is when the funder asks you to download a document, and from that document you are able to access it and then answer the question and submit the proposal through email. Now, but if you are putting your proposal together, these are foundation, right? These are foundation and the basic that you should know. So let's delve into into the structure and into the essential section of a grant proposal step by step. So first is the executive summary. Now, an executive summary is a concise, powerful overview of your entire proposal. Now, this is a summary. In fact, the name even suggests that it's a summary. It's called executive summary. If you are writing a proposal or you are developing a business plan, your executive summary consists of everything your proposal or your plan is all about in short and powerful way that if your funder are able to read through the executive summary, they should be able to understand what your project is. They should be able to understand what your business is. So this is the power of executive summary, a concise, powerful overview of your entire proposal. Now, one thing you should note is this, that your executive summary is the last part of the proposal that you should write, because it's after you have put down everything together that you can be able to summarize all of them. So you don't write this one, it comes first, but you write it last. I hope you get that. So it comes first in your structure of your proposal or your plan, but you write it last because it's after you have done all the groundwork you can be able to um, look at everything you have worked on and put it in a summary, summarizing it. So what do you include in the executive summary? Remember, like I explained earlier, that there are several ways that you can submit a proposal, and which the lesson 2 is all about. Now, in this lesson, I want to take you through this process so that by the time you have first working on your own project, you can be able to use this format to develop a proposal that we're going to review together, and you can even submit to an external funder. Remember, we've talked about a request for proposal and we've talked about a call for proposals. Now, yeah, that is what the lesson is all about. So, what to include in your executive summary? Who you are. Remember, we are talking that the executive summary is a summary of what your project is all about, a concise, powerful overview of your entire proposal. It talks about who you are, it talks about the problem you are solving, it talks about the solution you are offering, that is your project. And it talks about also the amount of money you are requesting in whatever currency you are requesting for it. And lastly, it talks about the impact you expect to create. That okay, if we are given X amount of money, this is the end result, the impact we are going to create with this project. So these are what executive summary is about. Now I have an example here. Now look at this example. This example is talking about a Gays in Tech initiative in Nasarawa State. So it reads like we are the Girls in Tech initiative in Nasarawa, empowering 200 secondary school girls with coding and design skills. Now, this proposal seeks 2.5 million naira to run three tech boot camps and a mentorship program. Our goal is to increase girls' interest in STEM careers, reduce gender gaps, and build a future-ready generation of innovators. Now, this is a very clear example of what and how to draft your executive summary. Remember, we said it will consist of who you are. Now, in this place now, who they are is they are the Gays Tech Initiative, and they are in Nasarawa State. Remember, all the lessons that we've been talking about is talking about when you are defining your problem, you should be able to narrow it down to a particular place. Now, who they are the Get Tech Initiative in Nasarawa. So the problem they are solving is that they are empowering 200 secondary school girls in Nasarawa with coding and design skills, right? Now, the solution, that is also the solution. Now, they've also mentioned their goal. Their goal is the impact they intend on creating is to increase girls' interest in STEM careers, reduce gender gaps, and build a future-ready generation of innovators. And they are seeking a total package of 2.5 million naira to do what? To run three tech boot camps and a mentorship program. So this is a very concise, a very detailed, yet short, right? Depending on what you are working on, it can be longer than this. It doesn't have to be too short or too lengthy, but something that is concise, something that, now by reading this Gays in Tech Initiative program, we can be able to know, oh, okay, this is what these people are trying to do, this is the amount they need, and this is the end result of what they want to do. It's very clear. Now, reading your executive summary, I can now decide, okay, let me complete this proposal. Let me see what this person is talking about and what they are trying to do. So think of your executive proposal, executive summary rather, as your project elevator pitch. As a project elevator pitch. Now, using this example, a tip I have for you here is that keep it short. Like I mentioned, it doesn't have to be too long. It can be longer than this, right? It can be longer than this. Yeah, and keep it short, clear. Keep it very clear and exciting. Save the technical stuff for later. So you don't have to be too technical here. When you are drafting your executive summary, remember, is the first thing that comes up in the structure of your proposal, and is the last thing you spend time writing, because you have to write all the others before you go into what the executive summary is all about. So the next thing we're going to look at is the problem statement. We have get more on the problem statement and how to draft it from module 2 and module 3 especially. So what is the problem statement? Now this is the heart of your proposal. You are explaining what is wrong, why it matters, and why the funder should care. This is the heart. The problem statement is what will determine maybe it fits into what I want to do as a funder. If I'm a funder that I want to help close gender gaps, at least you should be able to tell me exactly what is wrong. Why do you think there is a gender gap in your project? And your project should be able to address a particular problem, and that is exactly what you do with the problem statement. Is the heart of your proposal, because you are explaining to someone else what is wrong in a society, in your country, maybe in your school, or whatever or wherever something is wrong, and why that thing matters. You are creating urgency, and you want funders to care that, oh, this problem, if not solved, it can escalate. It can become more chaotic and bring more issues. So what you want to include in the problem statement, you want to include clear definition of the problem. What exactly is the problem? Remember in module 3, we've talked about removing ambiguity. You have to remove jargon, right? You have to be very clear with that problem statement. Also, remember, I mentioned to you, this is what we are doing now is a format that if you are first writing a grant that you want to submit, let's say to a bank or to any organization. Some of these organizations does not receive unsolicited proposal. So that means that most of them has a call for proposal or request for proposal or whatsoever. So, but if you are putting all your grants and then you want to send it to whatever organizations, you follow this format. Remember, what to include in the problem statement is a clear definition of the problem, and also you want to use evidence that that problem exists. Now, it's one thing to cook a problem up or what you think is a problem, but evidence will allow you to know that, okay, this problem really, really exists. And evidence, we're talking about data, we're talking about testimonials, we're talking about news, we're talking about research. So these are the groundwork that when you are trying to draft your problem statement, or when you are trying to understand what exactly the problem you are solving, are the initial research and initial homework that needs to be done to have evidence, to have data to back some of the things you are talking about, to have testimonials of people in the particular place that are experiencing that problem, or maybe a news report that you want to use. Okay, this is what this news report is saying, and they have put some effort into the journalistic part in order to be able to create that news, or in order to be able to create that report, which you are now using to back up your problem statement. Also, you want to include the human side, how that problem it affects real people. How does it affect real people? The case of insecurity, the case of lack of water, for example, no water in a particular community, and you are coming up with a project that we you want to dig a borehole in the community so that people in that place will be able to have access to water, a clean and safe drinking water. So how does this problem of no water affect people, real people living in that place? Remember, all of these are still part of evidence. They are still part of the initial research that you have to work on. And also you want to include why now? Why should we think about solving this problem now? Remember, you have to create that urgency in this problem. Why now? What exactly is now that this problem needs to be solved? Now, don't just say girls like lack. This is an example I have here. You should not just say that girls lack access to education. Instead, you say in Riverine local government area, 40% of girls drop out before age 14 due to unsafe schools and early marriages. This is a very clear problem statement. But if you just say girls lack access to education, it doesn't make sense. And in fact, it might not even be true. It is not even true because we've seen places where girls don't lack access to education. But if you are very specific, saying that in a riverine local government of a particular state or a particular place, 40% of the girls in that place drop out before age 14 due to unsafe schools and early marriages, which can be traced. Some funders will like to trace that problem. They can send representative depending on the amount of grant they are sending to you. They call it due diligence. For them to know maybe that problem you say you want to solve, does it really exist? That is what it's all about. The problem statement is very, very important. You have to, include some of these things to make it real. Now, some other tips I have for you here is that we've talked about being specific and it can be overemphasized. You have to be specific when you're describing the problem. And also avoid generalizations and use both data and emotion. Avoid any form of generalization. Avoid grouping. Yeah. So that is on or about the problem statement. Next, we have the goals and objectives. Remember, we've talked about this all through in module 3. Yeah, this is a reminder, and this to let you know that if you are going to be structuring your proposal, you structure it in this form. So, your goals are the big dreams, your objectives are the steps to get there. They have to be specific, measurable, and time bound. Smart. Smart. That is what your goal should be. Now, we are saying that your goals are the big dreams. Oh, at the end of this project, at the time if you solve the particular problem you want to solve, what and what are you intending on achieving with that solution that you are bringing on board? So your goals are the big dreams that you intend on having, and the objective are the step by step. If you are going to get to the moon, at least you have to get a spacesuit. You have to get a jet that can take you off the planet. Now, these are some of the things that are out there, like they are the objectives. The goal is to get to the moon, but the objective, these are some of the things that need to be in place for you to be able to get to the moon and put your flag there. Remember, we are talking about that the goal is your big dream. We've covered this. Please, if you have not seen the module 3 of this course, I will implore you to go back to the module 3 to cover all of these aspects so that we can be on the same page. So, what to include in your objective? You want to include one main goal. Remember, the goal should always be the main goal of this proposal. The main goal of this project, the main goal of this thing is that the overall change you want to see by that your project, the overall change you want to see by what you want to do, that is what the main goal is. And then when you talk about your goal, you then talk about 2 to 4 SMART objectives that are, the word SMART, it's an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and also time bound. You want to include like 2 to 4 SMART objectives. Now, let me think of an example here. The goal can be improve menstrual hygiene management and school retention among adolescent girls in 3 rural communities. This is one of the examples we've worked on in module 2. And the objective one can be to train 100 peer educators across three schools within 2 months. Objective two can be to distribute 1,000 reusable pads and hold six awareness sessions in 90 days. Right? So, a tip I have for you in this goals and objective is objective should be things you can track and prove later. Yes, objective should be things you can track. When you say you want to train 100 peer educators across three schools within 2 months, these are things that can be tracked. These are things that can be proven because those 100 educators you want to train, you can have their details. There can be picture, there can be video, there can be evidence of you training these 100 people. The three schools you mentioned that you want to reach, yes, they have address, they have contact. So these are what the objective should be about. Should be things you can track and prove later on that, oh, we went to so so and so school to have so so and so this. We train 100 people. Where are those ones? So it will not just be something that you just bring from somewhere. It's not magic. It's something that it really actually happens, something that can be tracked, something that can be proven later with evidence, picture, video, a lot of things, contacts, and all of that. So the next one there is activities and timeline. Activities and timeline. Now, what is it? The what, how, and when of your project is the activities and timeline. This shows you have thought it through. It shows that you have thought about the project. It shows that you've actually sat down, create a roadmap, create activities. Remember, we looked at goals, we look at objectives, then you break it down into how long will it take you to train 100 peer educators? How long will it take you to reach three schools? How long will it take you to distribute 1,000 reusable pads and hold six awareness sessions in 90 days? Are you going to be doing one session per week or one session per 2 weeks? So these are some of the things that activities and timeline consist of. So what you want to include in the activities and timeline is you want to include the major activities grouped by objective. Say, okay, you want to include resources that are involved in those activities. Also, you want to include who will implement them, like who will implement these activities. Training 100 peer educators, who are those people that will train them? Are you getting them from within the community or they are expert from their workplace that you are paying to do that? So these are some of the things that should be in the activities and also in the timeline. And also you want to include a simple timeline, can be a table or like it can just be a table or a Gantt chart, right? So just a table will do. I'm going to share some of the things that I've worked on in the next lesson so that you'll be able to solidify your learning in this particular training. For my students, we are going to take a project and then we're going to build it using this analogy, and then it will be a full project that will be done, and everyone will be required to do their own project also. All right, so a tip I have for you here is okay, is that when you are writing activities and when you are setting timeline, you have to be very very realistic. Funders want to see that you are prepared, not perfect. They want to see that you are prepared, especially with timeline. You don't do things that are not realistic. If you are going to be training 100 people, how long will it be? How many other people or trainers will that involve? So these are some of the things that you must be very, very realistic about. Maybe it's going to be for a month or 2 weeks or 3 weeks whatsoever. So the next one is the budget basics. So this in this place we are looking at how much money do you need for this project and what exactly will you use the money for. Like I mentioned earlier, most grant proposals, most CFPs, call for proposals or RFP, request for proposals, have their template for budget. So what they do is they give you budget, usually in Excel, yes, or some of them have an online platform where you log in. It's an Excel format where you input the budget. They already have a template. Most of them has a template of what they want you to answer, how they want you to fill it. So, but the basics is that budget is talking about how much money you need and what exactly you will use those money or you will use the money for. So what you want to include in budget is a breakdown of key cost categories and justification for each line of these categories. So whether you are contributing anything in kind or staff, time, etc., and etc., etc. So these are some of the things to include in your budget. Like I mentioned, I'm going to show you a full application that I've worked on that had been submitted. I will also show you the budget. The grant is a Lift Off Philanthropy Grant. It's a very it's a grant that supports NGOs that into environment. All right. So okay. So those are some of the things you have to include in your in the budget category. Example of budget category. For example, you might have area of human resources that is talking about facilitators, that is talking about coordinators, and you can have budget for materials that is talking about training kits, that is talking about maybe booklets or whatsoever. You can have aspect of logistics, the aspect of transport, internet venue. Yeah, you can also have monitoring and evaluation, which is very important, especially if you are dealing with every funder wants to see how you are evaluating and monitoring the project. And you can have admin or contingency, which is usually between 5 to 10% of the grant. So if you are requesting a 3 million naira grant, show how every naira links back to your activities. There should not be a place that cannot be accounted for. Everything in the money needs to be accounted for in the activities. So a tip I have for you here is that be transparent. Round numbers without explanation can raise red flag. If you are spending social amount on this, you have to explain why it's like that, because you are using it to create transparency, accountability, and trust in the heart of your funders. So be transparent. Don't just impose figures. Explain those figures. Your funders want to know why will it cost much to do this? Why will it cost low to do that? Remember. So for example, we've submitted a grant before that the funders reached out back to us that, hey, we like your proposal. In fact, we love your proposal. It's among the top three of the proposals. We have a feedback for you that the amount you are requesting for is too small. Remember, like it's was just so amazing. We were requesting for um around 100,000 euro to complete a particular project, and they were like, it's too small, right? What I just wanted to know is that a detailed explanation of all of these things will allow you to have that kind of light that funders can be able to reach back to you that, okay, or we want you to adjust this or do this or do that in your budget. All right. So the next thing you want we want to look at is M and E, monitoring and evaluation. So this is talking about how you will track the project success and how the funder will know their money made a difference. Very, very important. You can't escape this. How will you track the project success and how will the funder know that the money they have given to support this project is not a waste? So what you want to include in the M&A is you want to include indicators. Indicators are what you are measuring. When you say you want to train 300 students, when you train 50, what are the indicators? How will you know that you've trained 50? When you train 100, so also you want to include tools like tools that you use in recording, let's say Google Sheet, Trello, like a lot of Notion, Airtable, surveys, attendance sheets, in training 100 or 300 people. What is their name? Like attendance sheets. It's as simple as that. Interviews. And also you want to include who is responsible for the M&E. A member of your team, when you are putting this, should be responsible for the M&E full time so that this report will be able to reach the funders in time and it will be able to, they'll be able to know exactly what you've been working on. And you also want to include when data will be collected and reported. Yes, important. Breaking this down into steps. You want to train 300 girls. The first training, let's say 50. Okay, then the second training, 50. Third training, 50. So these are some of the things that you have to note in your planning process. All right. So finally, there are six essential sections that we've talked about. We've talked about the executive summary, the first part of anything, grant proposal or a business plan. But this is the part that you have to write last. We've also talked about the problem statement. We've talked about goals and objectives. We've talked about activities and timeline. And we've looked at the budget basics. And finally, we've also looked at monitoring and evaluation, M&E. Now, every funder may use different formats, like I mentioned, but these are your core building blocks. Remember, these are foundation. You can't see any other thing that like I just want you to know that these six essential sections are the foundation to whatever grants you'll be writing in the future. It may not be exactly lined up like this. In fact, you will rarely see it lined up like this. It will not even be lined up like this. But it's the foundation, right? Like I mentioned, most of these grant application have their online portal where you'll be able to submit the application. And some of them have format for how they want you to answer their question. But this is your basics. Is your basics. So in the next few lessons, we're going to go deeper into each one, starting with how to write a powerful problem statement that hooks the reader immediately. So that is what the next lesson is going to be about. I'm going to show you a real project and I'm going to analyze it for you. I will also allow you to analyze it and then I'll show you some few more projects. Yeah, I will show you like 2 to 3 projects so that I will also show you a project I'm about to work on and what I've done on it so far. So yeah, so those are some of the things that I will help you with in order for you to be able to get what we are talking about. So that has brought us to the end of this lesson, Module 4, Lesson 1. I'm Oluwole from Grand Database and I'm rooting for you. Remember, this training is brought to you by Grand Database. grantwriting.org. So ensure you always visit to be able to see new opportunities that are posted every day across the world globally. So let's go write the future one proposal at a time. Thank you and see you in the next lesson.